Shane Dawson is back again, but this time it's to his brand new podcast. After months of debating about starting a podcast again, Shane has finally taken the plunge and uploaded his first episode. As you guys can probably guess, the reactions are pretty mixed. It's a mess, so let's get into it. If you guys have been following along with everything that's happened with Shane over these past few years, you would know his old podcast played a huge part in his cancellation. Shane used to have a podcast called Shane and Friends, which lasted 140 episodes. During these episodes, Shane said so many outrageous things and had absolutely no filter, which is why it played such a huge role in his cancellation. As you can imagine, people were really surprised when Shane dropped the official trailer for the Shane Dawson Podcast. During the trailer, Shane said he realizes it's probably not the best idea for him to even have a podcast, but he misses talking to interesting people and diving deeper into subjects that aren't really talked about. He said during his old podcast, there were a lot of things that he wishes he never said, but there were also a lot of good moments with really good people. He also made a really interesting comment about wondering if his past guests will ever text him back or decide to come on his new show one day. I think that's going to be Shane's biggest struggle. There's so many podcasts now, and to stand out, you either have to be really interesting or have really interesting guests. The problem is, I think Shane's going to have a difficult time finding guests who are willing to go on. Any creator that goes on his podcast is going to get a ton of backlash, which will probably scare people away. Not only that, but Shane did lose the support of tons of creators that looked up to him. A few years have passed now, and we have seen some influencers start publicly supporting him again, like Tana Mojo.
Look, I'm going to give you a little exclusive.
Okay.
They had an amazing talk inside of the party, a real heart-to-heart, and I think they're always going to be friends.
But are they willing to go on his podcast and subject themselves to that kind of backlash for it? Maybe, but I really doubt it. I'm gonna take a guess here and say that's probably why Shane decided to have a lot of co-hosts for his new show. He has to make up for the lack of guests, so he's bringing on 3 other people to keep things interesting. The description for his new podcast says, join YouTuber Shane Dawson and a few of his close friends for an hour of unfiltered conversation. Each episode features brutally honest stories from Shane and his co-host's personal lives, as well as the occasional celebrity guest. Reoccurring segments such as New Fears Unlocked and Conspiracy Corner will satisfy your horror craving, while others like Embarrass Me will bring you the laughs. So press play to hang out with your new friends, and then press pause when you need a break from us. It's okay, we understand we're a lot. Now, at the end of Shane's trailer, he asked people to rate his podcast 5 stars to push him on the charts and get his name out there, and it looks like it worked. At the time of recording this, the Shane Dawson Podcast is sitting at the number 7 spot, just a few spots down from Emma Chamberlain's Anything Goes and right below Morbid. So far, it has a 4.9 star with over 3.4 thousand reviews, and a lot of them are looking pretty positive. Once again, you nailed it. Shane, I will never understand why you doubt yourself because you are so talented at everything you do. I am officially hooked. Please don't make us wait too long for another one. I want more. Great pod, miss Shane. He seems healed in the latest episode. I can't wait to see what his new chapter holds for him. Favorite podcast. My new favorite podcast. Very interesting, but so funny at the same time. Can't wait for the next episode. Love you guys. I am super excited about you having a podcast. You make my day 10 times better, and I enjoy listening to all the conspiracies. You are amazing. Awesome. Entertaining first episode. Laughs a lot. Hope more are on the way. And it seems like Shane is really happy about the reviews because he went on Instagram and thanked everyone, writing, "Thank you guys for the nice reviews. I am reading them now and they are making me emo. Thanks for the support. It means the world to me." Of course, there are a few negative reviews talking about Shane's past, but for the most part, they're pretty positive. Either Shane's deleting reviews, or maybe the people who don't support him aren't even giving him the clicks to leave a negative review. I mean, at the end of the day, if you still click on someone's content just to leave a thumbs down or a bad review, it all ends up as engagement and just pushes their content even more. Right now, Shane's podcast is available on all streaming platforms, but he also decided to turn one of his old YouTube channels into a podcast channel. He went on to his Shane Dawson channel from when he wanted to become a beauty guru and did a poll writing, "Would it be cool if I turned this channel into a video podcast channel?" And that's exactly what he did. Shane Dawson is now the Shane Dawson Podcast. And the other day, he posted his first ever episode titled Conspiracy Theories, the Shane Dawson Podcast, Episode 1. So just like the description said, we have Shane, Shane's brother Jared, Rylan, and their cameraman Chris. They started off by introducing themselves, and then Rylan asked how scared everyone was to be canceled.
On a scale of being canceled, how scared are you?
Of
giving your real opinions, unfiltered.
I feel like the only way we can stop the culture is to be uninhibitedly honest with each other, right?
Wow.
So, I think as long as we just keep it 100, I'm not really too worried about it,
I'm going to keep it like 70.
When they introduced Chris, Shane said out of everyone on the podcast, Chris is apparently the most woke.
Okay, so Chris, who are you besides being Peruvian and gay?
No, I'm everyone in this room's cameraman except for Jared. I'm production for this. I'm lighting and camera and everything behind the scenes and on camera, which is terrifying because I hate my face and my voice. But
oh, I love your voice. I would say out of this group, you are probably the most woke. I would say that in a way.
Shane explained that the reason he feels like Chris is the most woke because one day they were all going out to eat and Shane suggested Chick-fil-A. And Chris didn't want to go there because of the values and beliefs and the people the brand stands behind. Shane said he feels like his brother is going to be more offensive than he is, so he can kind of sit back and keep his mouth shut.
What this is, listen, I did podcasts for a long time because I really do enjoy you're not too worried about offending. I mean, at this point, well, you were more offensive than me, so I feel great. Like at this point, you can kind of do that, and then I can just...
But Rylan hit Shane with a little bit of reality and told him at the end of the day, this is your podcast. You're producing it, your name is on it. So if you're sitting there and laughing at an offensive joke, just because you didn't say it doesn't make it any better. After talking about who's the most woke and who's the most offensive, they moved on to guest ideas. I think Shane is going to have a really difficult time finding guests to actually come on his show, and it sounds like Shane thinks that too. I really think he's going to have to bring on someone equally as controversial, if not more, and that seems to be the direction he's going in. Shane said his dream guest is Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah, well, one of my people was Caitlyn Jenner, for a lot of reasons.
Rylan also tried to get Caitlyn to come on his podcast, The Sip. He texted Caitlyn saying that he's so fascinated by her life and her career, and he really would like her to come on The Sip to be interviewed. At first, I was like, why would Caitlyn Jenner come on a podcast? But it turns out she's actually done a few YouTuber podcasts recently. She went on both The Full Send and The Juicy Scoop, but never replied to Rylan's request for The Sip. Then they moved on to reasons why they think doing a podcast might not be the best idea. Shane talked about his old podcast, Shane and Friends, and how they would say the craziest things to try and be entertaining, and said he's not planning on doing that this time around. But since he's not doing that, he has this fear of being boring, censoring himself too much, and maybe slipping up and saying something and getting canceled all over again.
So yeah, my big insecurity is that I'm going to be boring and that I'm going to censor myself too much, and also that I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble, and then everybody's going to be like, see, he hasn't changed, even though I'm literally 33, almost 4 years old, so I've definitely changed. And also not being able to get guests, because but we don't really need guests, right, if we have each other. But like, is Caitlyn Jenner going to want to come?
Shane's brother had a similar fear as Shane. He's afraid that people might take the things they say the wrong way, but said their intentions are never to hurt anyone. Rylan had a different fear from Shane and Jared. Rylan's fear was about the increased fighting between him and Shane. Rylan said being on camera with Shane makes them argue so much more, and he's afraid people will start thinking they have a toxic relationship.
Well, you and I fight more when we're on camera, so like that's never good. And then people think like we have a toxic relationship because we are always like trying to be the most entertaining we can be if we're making something. And a lot of times that comes off as you and I picking on each other in a loving way, but it comes off very aggressive.
I think it's fun, and that's my toxic trait. Is I like fighting with you.
I mean,
only though when people are watching.
Yeah, it's not like we don't know. Fighting is my nightmare, but I like picking at Shane with my small annoyances throughout the day publicly. You know, it feels better that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the episode is sitting at just over 500,000 views with 47,000 thumbs up. And like I said, most of the comments are positive. Shane thanked people for the positivity on his Instagram, writing, "These comments are so encouraging and sweet. I'm so grateful and happy you guys are liking it." And he went on to confirm another episode is already in the works.
Sorry, I'm cleaning right now. That's why I look like this. But I just wanted to say I'm just so happy. I'm so grateful that you guys seem to be enjoying the first episode. And yeah, I already set up a schedule for us to film another one next week. I don't know if it's going to be a weekly thing or a monthly thing, or kind of depends on what you guys want or how much, time everybody has. But yeah, I'm excited.
Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below. Did you watch the first episode? Did you skip it? And do you think Shane doing this podcast is gonna end up like the first one did? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you next time.